Hello and welcome to this astrological forecast for the sign of Gemini for the year of 2025. I strongly recommend using these videos for your rising sign for the greatest accuracy, but you may also use them for your sun and or moon signs if you so desire. The first item I will call your attention to for 2025 is the fact that Pluto is now in Aquarius in your 9th house to stay for almost another 2 decades. Pluto has been retrograding back and forth between Capricorn and Aquarius since March of 2023, thus facilitating a transition period, but now in 2025, Pluto is firmly anchored in Aquarius and won't be leaving the sign anytime soon. This transit has already begun deeply transforming your beliefs, spirituality, ideals, and what is foreign to you. Many of you may find a powerful desire in the coming years to travel to faraway places, and you will experience profound changes in your life as a result. Remember, however, that this is a very slow process lasting again for almost another 20 years. Pluto's time in Aquarius will transform everyone's relationship with technology, the collective, and the future. For you, Gemini, it will also have a lasting impact on your work, health, schedule, and day-to-day activities. On February 23rd, Mars stations direct in Cancer in your 2nd house of money. This is part of an ongoing story that first began in September or October of 2024 and does not conclude until May or June of 2025, involving increased motivation in your money, values, or resources linked to your communication, short distance travel, and what is familiar to you that ends up affecting your work, health, schedule, or day-to-day activities, as well as your friends, groups, and allies. Additionally, with Mars being opposite Pluto for so much of this time, your motivations will be challenged to transform. You will experience increased effort and energy output when it comes to your finances, values, communication, and or travel. While this transit may be intense at times, it is not something you should run from. Instead, apply your Gemini skills of dexterity, cleverness, and flexibility to meet what is required of you. Again, know that in addition to your work, health, schedule, and day-to-day activities, by the time this transit is complete in May, your friends, groups, and allies will be thoroughly transformed. On March 1st, Venus stations retrograde in Aries in your 11th house of friends. This too is part of an ongoing story, but one that does not begin until January of 2025 and does not conclude until May of 2025, involving reflection on and reconsideration of your relationships when it comes to your friends, groups, and allies, and how they are connected with your career, reputation, or actions that ends up affecting your experience of loss, isolation, or suffering, as well as your fun, love, children, and leisurely activities. I know that is a lot to take in, so let us attempt to break it down some. First of all, the exact Venus retrograde itself runs from March 1st through April 12th, during which time the events of it will tend to be at their most intense. Second of all, Venus retrogrades are primarily about relationships and the reconsideration of and reflecting on relationships. Sometimes past relationships can resurface at this time as well. Third of all, this one is taking place in both your 11th and 10th houses, meaning you will reflect on your relationships when it comes to your friends and your reputation. Fourth of all, this Venus retrograde will have a lasting effect on your experience of loss as well as your fun or leisurely activities. For further clarification, consider this. Venus has an 8-year synodic cycle, meaning it retrogrades through almost the exact same part of the zodiac every 8 years. And thus you can look back to what happened in your life in March and April of 2017 and know that those themes will tend to repeat in some way this year during this Venus retrograde. Venus retrogrades occur every year and a half and often function as significant stress tests on existing relationships. The March madness continues when on March 14th, the lunar eclipse takes place in Virgo in your 4th house of home. In fact, the entirety of March is our first eclipse season this year, a time when fateful changes beyond our control take place. The lunar eclipse on March 14th indicates these kinds of unexpected and fateful developments in your home, family, or living situation. Since the lunar nodes recently changed signs to the Virgo-Pisces axis and thus your 4th and 10th house axis, fateful changes are also now occurring in your career or reputation, and this is the beginning of a story lasting for at least another year and a half. Although to be precise, there was just barely a lunar eclipse in Pisces in September of 2024, thus you may have seen something of a preview of this already. It can also be thought of as emphasizing the theme of how your private life intersects with your public life, with significant beginnings and endings in both of these areas. However, the previous eclipse season story from the past 2 years or so has not quite finished up until now, with the following solar eclipse on March 29th taking place in Aries in your 11th house of friends, groups, and alliances. In other words, March of this year marks the end of the great changes you have been seeing when it comes to your friends, community, allies, hopes, and wishes for the past 2 years, or at least those great changes indicated by eclipses, and the beginning of new major developments in both your home, family, or living situation as well as your career or reputation. On June 9th, Jupiter ingresses into Cancer in your second house of money, indicating growth, expansion, and good fortune in your money, values, or resources for the rest of the year, especially if you were born during the daytime. You may notice in the chart on screen, however, that as Jupiter makes this ingress, it is also square to Saturn in Aries in your 11th house, suggesting that the growth or expansion in your money or values creates ongoing stress with limitations in the area of your friends or allies. For example, an increase of financial abundance on your part may cause your friends or allies to expect you to share with them in ways that exceed your personal limits or preferences. I wouldn't worry too much about this, however, as with clear communication and the setting of proper boundaries, you can experience the good fortune of this growth or expansion without it threatening the stability in other areas of your life. This transit will have a lasting impact on your major relationships, career or reputation, shared resources, and or beliefs or ideals. On July 13th, Saturn stations retrograde conjunct Neptune in your 11th house of friends. This is a big deal. The ingress of slow-moving Saturn and even slower-moving Neptune into Aries this year is one of the major indicators of 2025 being a year of great change unlike anything we've seen for many years prior. It is, however, still only a preview of things to come, as by the end of the year, both Saturn and Neptune will have retrograded back into Pisces and won't be in Aries to stay until 2026. Specifically, Neptune will be in Aries from March 30th through October 22nd, during which time you will experience your capacity to transcend the physical self and merge with something far greater in the area of your friends or allies. This could manifest as something like joining an organization that is aligned with your own strong faith or ideals. Saturn, on the other hand, will enter Aries on May 24th and be there until September 1st, during which time you will experience your capacity to create order and discipline in the area of your friends, groups, or allies. There may also be increased challenges or limitations in this area, especially if you were born during the nighttime. When Saturn conjoins Neptune, you will experience bringing reality or structure to your transcendence, creativity, imagination, or spirituality in the area of your friends, groups, or alliances. This will have a lasting impact on your shared resources, issues of life and death, beliefs, and or reputation. Saturn will be within a 1-degree orb of Neptune from June 9th through August 4th, during which time the effects of this transit will be at their most intense. On September 6th, Uranus stations retrograde in your sign of Gemini, trine Pluto in Aquarius. As with Saturn and Neptune, Uranus ingress into Gemini this year is another major indicator of this being a year of great change. But also like Saturn and Neptune, it is only a preview of things to come, with Uranus retrograding back into Taurus by the end of the year. Specifically, Uranus will be in Gemini from July 7th through November 7th, during which time you will experience the shaking up of who you are personally, your character, your physical body, or even your appearance. Since it is in your sign of Gemini and therefore your first house of self, you may begin to take on the qualities of Uranus, finding yourself more prone to rebellion, unique and brilliant ideas, mental or spiritual awakenings, or fighting for your own liberation or individuality. Remember again, however, that this is just a preview of things to come for the next 7 years. When Uranus trines Pluto, you will experience a sudden liberation of repressed fear or desire taking place within you personally, as well as your beliefs, spirituality, ideals, or what is foreign to you that ends up affecting your work, health, schedule, or day-to-day activities. Uranus will be within a 1-degree orb of Pluto from August 11th through October 28th, during which time the effects of the transit will be at their most intense. Due to the sudden nature of Uranus, however, I would pay particular attention to September 5th, 6th, and 7th, with those being immediately before, during, and after Uranus exact retrograde station. Speaking of September 7th, that is also the day of a lunar eclipse in Pisces in your 10th house of career and reputation, indicating fateful developments in your public life. It kicks off the main part of our second eclipse season of the year, lasting from August 23rd through September 28th. Again, this is a time when powerful changes beyond our control can and do take place. Subsequently, there is also a solar eclipse in Virgo and your 4th house of home on September 21st, suggesting fateful changes in your home, family, or living situation. As mentioned earlier, the current eclipses bouncing back and forth between your 4th and 10th houses can also be thought of as fateful developments between your private life and public life. Keep in mind that events signified by eclipses can occur on the exact date of an eclipse, between eclipses, or even between entire eclipse seasons. Eclipses are erratic and often unpredictable in this way. On November 4th, Mars in Sagittarius opposes Uranus in your sign of Gemini. While this is not as long-lasting of an event as what I would typically include in a yearly context, its effects are so potent that it may very well end up defining the entire final quarter of the year, and thus I decided it needed to be included. Mars in your 7th house of relationships opposite Uranus in your 1st house of self indicates a sudden challenge coming from someone with whom you're in a major relationship to your urge for unique individuality or liberation, involving strong motivation or anger that ends up affecting your friends, allies, work, schedule, career, or reputation. For example, your strong desire to do your own thing and go your own way could be in direct opposition to what an employer, close friend, or romantic partner wants from you, resulting in the severing of those ties, changing jobs, finding different friends, etc. Since Mercury, your ruling planet, stations retrograde soon after this, there is a strong implication that all of November and into December will be a time when you are really rethinking things when it comes to your major relationships and your work, and especially how those two areas are connected. More generally, when angry Mars opposes unpredictable Uranus, sudden rebellion and fighting for freedom can take place, and we will all see this manifest on an individual and collective level on or around November 4th when the opposition perfects. Keep in mind with this that anger does not mean you are doing anything wrong. It is simply an indicator of the need for a boundary. 2025 is a year of great change, and I am not just saying that. Astrologers like myself have had their eye on this year for at least half a decade now due to its strong indicators of powerful change. It is not common at all that in one year we have Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune all changing signs, with Pluto just having changed signs not long before the year began. For you, Gemini, deep changes and transformations have begun in your beliefs, spirituality, ideals, or what is foreign to you with Pluto now in Aquarius. You experience increased motivation and energy output in the first half of the year when it comes to your money and values, as well as your communication, travel, or what is familiar to you with Mars stationing direct in Cancer. You reflect on your relationships when it comes to your friends and reputation in March and April due to the Venus retrograde. Fateful changes take place throughout the year in both your private life and public life due to eclipses taking place in the Virgo-Pisces axis. Growth and good fortune come to your money, values, and resources from June onward with Jupiter's ingress into Cancer. You bring structure to imagination or creativity when it comes to your friends and allies this summer when Saturn conjoins Neptune. You experience sudden liberation of repressed fear or desire in your beliefs, spirituality, ideals, or what is foreign to you in early September when Uranus trines Pluto. Finally, your urge to be yourself and do your own thing can be held back no longer when Mars opposes Uranus in early November. So I hope you have listened closely to all that I have here said, for 2025 is a year we will never, ever forget.